Okay, excellent. We are recording and we are excited for another excellent training webinar for Equipment Zone. Today's topic, we're going to be comparing the learning curves of screen printing to DTG printing. And we had to search high and low for somebody who knew a little bit about both. And guess what? It turns out it's you, Terry Combs. We didn't have to search anywhere. We have the man, the myth, the legend, industry veteran, seasoned pro, on both topics, and truly a uniquely gifted, genuine human who is kind in every way. How about that for an intro?
Wow, that was really something. I've really got to step up my game here in this webinar. And Jay, I do have to say that we do have a lot of folks seeing these webinars, because when I was in Kansas City last weekend at the DAC show, someone stopped me and said, "Hey, are you the guy from all those DTG videos?"
I love it. I love it.
I have a question for you.
Hey, you're that guy. I love that. That's so good. Well, today's topic is right up our alley because, truth be told, we have a lot of apparel decorators who are doing lots of other things and they're doing them successfully. And they're kind of still in that I'm on the fence, or I've been looking at it, but I'm not sure. And so we thought we could help nudge that decision-making process along by giving some value and some consent to what it takes to become an adequate or above average, really, of a screen printer who knows what they're doing and a DTG printer who knows what they're doing. And so you could give us a fair comparison of both. And so today's subject is just that. Not a lot of slides, basically going back and forth between us. Tim is here and he is going to be monitoring the chat in case there's anything there. Hi, Tim. Welcome to the show. We're glad you're here. And thanks for all the folks back in New Jersey who are helping us make this happen as well. We appreciate it. It's truly a team effort, as Amy said in the chat. So without further ado, my friend, I want to give a little backstory to how we got to this point, in addition to the fact that I think it's a good subject. You were recently doing a training event where you were off at another site, offsite, and helping some screen printers get started. Many folks, I think, Terry, know you for that, but there might be some that don't know that that's something you do, right?
Exactly right. I've been teaching screen printing classes for about 18 years. So I started screen printing, Jay, in a previous century. So
that's funny and true. So I love it. But we got on that topic and I was wishing you well. And as I always do, and I was thinking about the training and I was like, you know what? Terry does all these trainings and he's really good at it. And I hear tons of awesome feedback. But I wonder how long it takes. Like what does it really take to become an above average screen printer? Like I know folks are usually just starting out when they meet you, right, Terry? But
yeah,
we got
exactly.
to talking. Yeah, we got to talking. We were thinking, this could be a really great session where we could maybe compare some of the processes and talk about the ramp up time and all the moving parts and so on and so forth. So thrilled that you're here. That was kind of the backstory that led us to this. And now we are set up. Now we are ready, Mr. Combs.
All right, let's do it.
I'm gonna dive right in. I have one screen to share, believe it or not. Nothing powerful, but just to kick us off, this is the idea behind it, and this is the graphic that we've been using to show. So on the left side, of course, screen printing. Those don't look like your hands, Terry. I'm just going to say
those are not my hands. I believe those are a hand model's hands doing some type of screen printing there.
And on the right side, of course, you see the Epson F2100, one of our flagship printers, which we love. And so that's it. So Tim, I'm going to ask you if you are not, you're on camera now, but it's not going to show up on the recording unless you're talking. So it's okay that you're there, but for the recording, then people won't see you. So either way, we're good. And we're glad that you're there. Comparing the learning curves, screen printing versus DTG printing. So I want to start with this. Talk about the screen printing process. Maybe you could walk us through what's included, what we need. How do we go from A to Z?
Okay. Well, like any type of decoration, you're going to start with artwork. Most people in screen printing will use CorelDRAW. If not, they're going to be using Adobe Illustrator. And in that artwork, we're going to create separations, because a 5-color print is going to require 5 screens. It will require 5 films. So at that point, once you've created your artwork, you've separated the artwork by color, you're going to output films on an inkjet printer most commonly. And then you're going to take those films and you're going to go to screens. So with our screens, we are going to first degrease them. Once those are dry, then we're going to coat them with a photosensitive emulsion. At that point, we're going to go to our exposure unit, put our film positive on the glass, put our screen with the photosensitive emulsion on the glass, clamp it down, vacuum it down, then expose it to UV light. After that, Jay, every place that the light touched that emulsion hardens the emulsion. Every place that's blocked by the film is going to stay soft. So I'm going to go to my sink. I'm going to wash out that screen, and all the soft areas will wash out, and that's where the ink's going to go through. Once again, that's dry. Then I'm going to tape up the screen and take it to my press. And so obviously with screen printing, there's a big upfront commitment of time, degreasing, coating, exposing, washing out, taping up the screen. Then I'm going to go to my press. And if it's a multicolor job, I have to line up each screen to the next screen. Now, if you come to my screen printing class, I can show you how to set up that 5-color job in about 5 minutes.
Oh, come on. You're exaggerating 5 minutes. That would take me an hour.
It's a true thing. I was going to say most people it takes about an hour to set up the press. Again, that's why you hear screen printers say, I need at least 12 pieces for even a 1-color job, or the higher the number. If you get into that photorealistic type of printing, a screen printer is going to want at least 100 pieces to make it worthwhile because of all the upfront commitment of time. So then you're going to set up, you're going to load your shirt because all the screens are squared up to your platen. That's what you're putting your shirt on. You're going to load your shirt by threading it. In other words, opening up that shirt, putting it on the platen. You have a low tack adhesive on that platen to keep the shirt from picking up with the screen. And so loading your shirt by threading, there's a little bit more technique to it. To make sure that shirt is perfectly square with the platen. And, obviously I could go on for hours about this entire process here, which I do regularly, but
no. Your summary is great. This is exactly what I hoped you would do. I think you're touching the high points of each one.
So now I've got my shirt loaded. I'm going to bring down my screen. It's off contact. The only place that the screen touches the shirt is along the edge of the squeegee blade. I'm either going to pull my squeegee or I'm going to push the squeegee, either or, not both. And if it is, it's a 4-color print, I'm going to print every color wet on wet. No flashing in between colors. But if it's a dark garment, Jay, if it's even say a red garment with white ink, or a navy or a black, I'm going to print a white underbase. I'm going to put it under my flash unit to gel the ink for about 15 seconds. Then I'm going to come back and then I'm going to print my colors on top, wet on wet. So now I have my printed shirt. Most screen printers, even though you hear a lot about water-based ink today, most screen printers still use plastisol ink. Which means I need to get it up to about 320 degrees to cure that shirt. So to do that, I'm going to put it on a conveyor dryer belt. It's going to go down the belt, and depending on the time and temperature, it's probably going to be in that dryer for about 1.5 minutes or so. And when it comes out the other end, it is cured and ready to go. It's ready to be put in a box. You can wash it, you can wear it. But that is basically the process of screen printing. So lots of steps on the front end, Jay. That's where you get the pushback on the quantities of prints the quantities of prints that screen printers demand.
So what you're saying is lots of moving parts, as you said, and lots of variables, it sounded like.
Exactly.
It also sounded like this is something that's probably going to take 2 or 3 days to really teach someone through all of those steps, from the starting point of I've never done this to the ending point of ta-da, here's my shirt. That would probably be a 2-day or maybe even a 3-day training. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, my classes, Jay, I do 2-day classes. It'll be all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And it starts from half my classes will have never printed a shirt before. The other half might have been in business for a year or less. They just come to see, am I doing this right kind of thing. But it's right from everybody degreasing screen, everybody coating a screen, everybody burning a screen, everybody prints a shirt, everybody helps set up the press. So it's about 2 days. To do that. I just did that class here in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be doing a 2-day class in Chicago this weekend, and so yeah, that's a part of my schedule that's outside of equipment zone. But
it's a part of Terry's life. He still probably has plastisol ink under his fingernails right
I
now.
might. I was over at Workhorse messing with some screens yesterday.
No, but I
work.
love it. I love the fact that you are engaged, and I think it's a rich history. I got started screen printing early on, as you know, as well.
Right.
It's literally why I'm still here today. And there's nothing wrong with it. We both enjoy the process of it. We both enjoy the outcome of it. But I want to ask you a tougher question if you're prepared, if you're sitting down, Terry.
I'm
I'd
sitting
love
down,
to
I'm
know,
ready.
in your opinion, because you've trained, I don't know, thousands, right? You've trained thousands of business owners,
Thousands
thousands
of
of
printers. Yeah.
operators. Okay. So in your estimate, how long would it take somebody that's brand new to then say, okay, I'm now an above average screen printer? Like, in terms of time, I might even be considered an expert. To go from zero to expert,
Sure.
how much time is it going to take as a screen printer, a manual screen printer?
Yeah, if you go to a class, you can go back and you can start printing on Monday. You can be doing that 1 and
Okay.
2 and 3 color work. That's the bread and butter for screen printers anyway. But to be an expert, Jay, you mentioned it, lots of variables. And there's different mesh counts, there's specialty inks, there's all kinds of different variables, different substrates or garments that you're printing on. So I tell my students, I say, you can become an expert screen printer. It's going to take you about 3 years of practice, experimentation, trial and error. So can I make money tomorrow doing it? I can. Can I do everything? Not necessarily. Jay, I was talking to a screen printer in Cleveland a couple of years ago on my podcast, and he was winning awards after his first year in business. And
Wow.
and I said to him, how did you go from novice to award-winning screen printer in a year? And he said, Terry, it was super easy. All I did was work about 100 hours a week to do it.
Super easy. I didn't do anything.
I just didn't go home.
Wow. Well, we're laughing at that, but some people are driven like that.
Oh,
So
sure.
I think in one way, that's super cool that he's already winning awards. And in another way, it's like, no, that's not realistic. Let's be pragmatic. Let's try to be in the real world of other things, family life,
Sure.
business, running the business. But that's a great review assessment. I appreciate your insight on. I was going to guess 2 to 3 years, but you said 3 years, so I'm gonna hold out on that 3 years. And I have to just put a little sprinkle on top. It is Taco Tuesday, so I'm gonna put a little salsa on top of this, which was, I couldn't believe how technical it was. I mean, I was surprised by how technical. I felt very like scientific. Like, I was like, should I be wearing a white lab coat while I do this? I mean, all the emulsions and what's that? The tension of the screen matters.
Right, exactly.
The variables, the all of it. I was like, wow, there's a lot here. And so
It
for me,
seems
the first
really,
time I really did
it seems really simple when you see it, but the more you get
Yes.
into it, the more involved it is. You're exactly
It's
right.
exactly right. It's like watching someone push or pull a squeegee. It's like, nah, I got that. I could do that. Which,
We're
by
good
the
to go.
way, isn't easy to do. And you have, pressures and angles to consider and so on and so forth.
Right.
But all of that prep work, that's what caught me by surprise. And that's where all those super technical variables were. But I love it. I'm a screen printer myself, and it's fun. So now that we have that, let's transition and set this aside. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Tell me about the process for DTG printing. What does that look like? What are the startups? What are the variables? Walk me through that. Like, I've never heard of it or seen it, or I've never done it.
Okay, well, you're gonna start with artwork, but you're not going to be creating separations. DTG printing is a full color printer, so you're going to start with artwork that's already multicolor if you choose to print multicolor. Mm-hmm. And this is what I say to folks, Jay. Whatever you can send to your desktop color printer, you can send to a DTG printer. And really, the only thing you really need to know about that artwork is it needs to be at 300 DPI, and it needs to be saved at full size. If you have that, you can make a perfect print. So you start with that artwork. You're going to import that artwork into your software, like for Epson, it's going to be Garment Creator software. And there's where you're going to position the image. There's where you're going to tell it, hey, I need a white underbase. And by the way, in the program will create that underbase for you. As a screen printer, I've got to create that as a separate film, an underbase under all the different colors. So I've got my file, it's loaded into my printer, the little blue light's flashing. If I am printing white ink, I must pre-treat that shirt. And we have lots and lots and lots of videos on pre-treating and the process and what to use and what not to use. So let's just say I'm going to pre-treat that shirt, dry it with my heat press. Then I'm going to load my shirt, my pre-treated shirt, on the platen. You just lay the shirt on top of the platen with direct-to-garment printing. So it's much easier to know that shirt is square just by laying it on top and just grabbing the sides and looking at the top to see that it's square. Then I'm going to hit the print button. If it's a color, a print on a color shirt, it's going to print my white first, come back and print color on top. Unless I'm running a F3070, then it's going to print white, and right behind it, it's printing the color. So now I have a decorated shirt. Just like screen printing, Jay, I need to cure that garment. Okay. And it's a water-based ink. It would eventually air dry, but for washability, I either have to heat set it in a heat press or in a conveyor dryer. Either one works perfectly fine. Once you're done with that, you can wear it, you can wash it, you can ship it to your customer. So, but a little simpler process.
It sounded simpler. I wasn't trying to keep track, but it just, through your explanation, it was shorter, it was quicker, and it sounded simpler. You know, I'm going to go off script here just a touch, but I know you know the answers to this. So I wouldn't set you up. I was curious, when you were talking about the screen printing setup, you talked about plastisol ink and that the majority of screen printers are still using plastisol. And then you just said on this one with DTG printing, we were using a water-based ink. Maybe you could talk just a second about the differences of that, because if I'm not mistaken, I think my second job, after doing a really crummy job of cleaning screens and taking out tape, which is, by the way, horrible, I had to do something even equally horrible, which was I had to use chemicals because back in the day, Terry, we didn't have these things that were so green and friendly. We had this thing called, it wasn't acetone, but it was something nasty and it smelled, and I had to use that to clean out a screen, which means I think there's a big difference between these inks, plastisol and a water-based DTG ink. What should I know about that? What can you tell us?
Well, plastisol and most of the garments that you have, if you have let's say you have a shirt from Arizona State University, chances are very high that's a screen print with plastisol. Plastisol is a PVC based. It's plastic. It's a liquid plastic, and therefore the durability is incredible. It's going to wash and wash and wash and wash. But as you said, there's steps in the process. There's a lot of cleanup afterwards. You've got to clean your squeegees. You've got to clean the ink out of your screen. You've got to take out all the tape. If you're going to use that, if you're not going to print that same job again, then you're going to reclaim that screen. So you're going to put a chemical on there and a power washer to take the emulsion off the screen and start the process all over again. So lots of cleanup with direct-to-garment printing. And I'm not trying to sell screen printing short, because Jay, I think I've told you this before, my screen printing classes are always sold out. And I do screen printing classes around the country, and there are people on a waiting list to get in. So there's a place for this process. But with direct-to-garment printing, the minute you get the artwork, you could literally be printing that shirt 2 minutes later. And when you're done, the only cleanup, and different direct-to-garment printers have different maintenance, but like the Epson printer, it cleans itself. So once you're done, you literally just turn off the printer. And so there's not the extra steps. Jay, I think I mentioned to you, after work yesterday, I went down to help out the folks at Workhorse Products, because I just did my class there, and they had lots of screens set up. And I said, listen, I'll come over and help you guys get those cleaned up. So I spent an hour and a half yesterday afternoon cleaning up 9 screens so that we could use them in the class that we'll be doing in May. So yes, I do indeed have plastisol under my nails, as you mentioned.
Well, and you're also an awesome friend for going down and helping me clean up But it was your mess. Let's not forget that.
It was my
Okay.
mess. Yes.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the comparison because I do remember I thought it was crazy the first time that I saw ink bucket after ink bucket, all these just buckets of ink, little containers of ink with no lid on them, and just sitting there. And I was like, well, why we need to cover those up, right? Oh, no, 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 they'll be fine. And it's like,
Another beauty of
later,
plastisol. Yeah.
2 years later, that little carton is still sitting there, and then boop, pull it out, put it in the screen, and start, and you're good to go. So it never really dries until it's cured, which is interesting. So sorry I got you off track. That's my nature, but I want to go back. I'm looking at our little setup. So same question to you about the time reference. You gave us a great perspective of the time for me to go from a total novice, total rookie to an expert. You gave us the screen printing. Now, what about that same question as it applies to DTG printing? How long is it going to take me to get to that point where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much an expert at this?
Well, Jay, there aren't people like me in direct to garment like I was in screen, but there aren't people who can say I've been screen printing for over 40 years. That doesn't exist. Direct to garment printing's only been around for about 17, 18 years, and with white ink for about 16 years. So this is new for almost everybody that gets involved in it. So, but you can learn the process start to finish in about a day of training, and that's just not what button do I push, but how do I get a really high-end finished product. You can learn all that in about a day. Then after that, and here's the beauty of it for anybody getting involved in it, the process is exactly the same every time. There are not a bunch of variables about screen mesh and tension and specialty inks, and it's just repeat. So after that, what really separates one decorator from the next is commonly the quality of the artwork. That's the only variable really, Jay, out there, other than trying to decorate on some other substrates. But I believe that you can literally be an expert DTG operator in about 30 to 90 days, as long as you stay on track. And what does that mean? Keep doing it the same way over and over and over again. It's those folks who go on the internet and say, but so-and-so said if you do it like this, and then you just get off on you get off on that spiral down, and you're calling back again and say, hey, get me back on track.
You're saying, hey, Roy, or hey, Tim, or hey, somebody at Equipment Zone.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that at the end of the session. So that's really interesting. I did not expect you to say 90 days, like 30 to 90 days even. So, but it makes sense. I can see that. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously I've been around the technology for a while. I've printed quite a few shirts, and I do not consider myself an expert because I haven't spent that time, that dedicated every day, but in the trenches, through the process. And there are some variables. Let's not, I don't want to, whitewash this or make this seem like it's ridiculously easy. However, I do think that it is easier. And that's my opinion. Looking at the two, just kind of taking a judgment.
Right.
I think both can be really rewarding. I think both are really creative, and I think they might serve different audiences for different reasons, but we'll get to that in a second. Maybe you could transition us into some of the advantages of screen printing, Terry.
Sure.
You teach these sessions and standing room only / waiting lines to get in. So
right.
It's not just your good looks and charm. It's although that's part of it. That's part of it.
There's some very, very large screen printing operations out there in the world that started out in my class, which I'm pretty proud of. But
that's awesome. Thank you for saying that. You should be proud, and I think that's super cool.
Comparing though advantages, the ink cost for screen printing is very, very inexpensive, pennies. You buy a gallon of ink, think, oh my gosh, that's $50 for a gallon of ink. And you put it in your screen, you print the shirts, you scoop it back into the container and go, oh, well, it looks like it's full again. So it doesn't take very much plastisol ink or any other type of screen printing ink to decorate a shirt. Even on a manual press, Jay, you could do one color prints. You can print 100 pieces in an hour. A multicolor print, you could get 72 plus shirts per hour. An automatic press, realistically in the real world, about 500 pieces an hour. So it's very efficient once you get to that point where you actually get to pull the squeegee or push the squeegee. And, add to that, you can print on almost any garment. You can screen print on 100% cotton, on 50/50, on 100% poly, on tri-blends, and without much effort on your part, you can print on all those different garments. So those are probably the key advantages for being a screen printer.
Oh, those are great. What about DTG? Maybe you could follow up with the advantages for that.
Well, yeah, you can print one full color image from start to finish in minutes. Somebody brings in a photograph off their phone, and by the time you get it onto your computer, you could literally be printing it a minute later. And that person could, if without any chit chat in between, could walk in with a photo and be walking out with a shirt in 10 minutes. And so a huge advantage. Personalization, you could have a graphic, but every different shirt has a variable data or personalization as part of it. And now, Jay, with the introduction of direct to film capability that you can do on a DTG printer, then it does open up more avenues for you. It opens up the opportunity to do 100% polys or some of those substrates that screen printers have been printing all along, but all of a sudden, now you can do it yourself with a DTG printer.
I love that. In fact, that ties exactly into one of the questions in the chat. Dave just popped in and said, he's talking about substrates, and is it mandatory or necessary required for DTG printing to be on 100% ring spun combed cotton, or can you print others? And maybe you could talk just briefly about that.
Sure.
Is that like screen printing is a little bit more open, right?
Right. And we have, the folks that come from the screen printing world come into DTG and go, well, why can't I use my Gildan cotton, soft cotton shirt? Well, because the fibers, the threads are further apart and the texture isn't as smooth. And with direct to garment printing, the substrate, the product you're printing on has a huge impact on what the final print looks like. So yes, 100% ring spun cotton is your ideal substrate. And, Jay, I know we've talked about it before, but a lot of folks don't realize that they say, well, ring spun cotton because it's smooth. Well, the reason it's smooth is because ring spun cotton is made with thinner threads than regular cotton, and which means thinner threads, tighter weave, smoother surface. That's why you see so many people promoting ring spun cotton for a DTG. They just don't know why. But it's that's the ideal scenario. Can you print on other substrates? You can. It might take a little more tinkering though, maybe changing up your pre-treat a little bit, maybe going in and adjusting your underbase or adjusting colors to give you that saleable product. So screen printing, I could print 100% cotton and 50/50s in the same run. They're going to basically look the same. It's going to be a little bit different scenario with DTG.
Gotcha. Well said. Thanks for letting me deviate there, but that was a great question from Dave. Love the interactivity in the chat. Maybe we could shift again to another question in terms of,
Sure.
Other than the finished garment, what do you see as the primary differences in learning these two forms of decoration?
Sure. Well, Jay, I mentioned the bread and butter for screen printing is 1 and 2 and 3 color prints. That's where we make our money. The example, pardon me, the I always use is Jim's towing service, the phone number on the back. That's our favorite customer because Jim just keeps coming back and ordering more shirts because his crew on the trucks are always ruining those shirts, and we love that guy, right? And so that's
we do love that guy. And Terry's been encouraging him to go with white T-shirts all these years.
Exactly right. But your guys look so good in the white ones, Jim.
They really look sharp. Crisp, clean, sharp.
But so the prep time and the expertise, Jay, is much greater. And when somebody says, I'm going to do a photographic image on DTG, can I do a photographic image on screen printing? Absolutely. But the number of screen printers out there that have that capability is very, very limited, and it's getting smaller because screen printers who get those orders for that multicolor print, 5, 6, 8 colors, they're going to DTG to do those prints because number one, a lot of them don't have the expertise, nor do they want to spend the time setting up a job like that. So short runs, 1 and 2 and 3 color, but short run for a screen printer is 12. Once you get into 2 and 3 colors, it's going to be 24 and 36 and 48. Longer run prints, though, for screen printing, 100+ prints can be very efficient as a screen printer. But again, the expertise to do full color prints is very, very limited for screen printers. There's only a handful of decorators out there who have the expertise to do that type of printing. For DTG, it's the ability to do one or just a handful of full color images. Short runs are the most financially feasible to do with DTG. And Jay, I've said this on the show before. It's an Amazon world. Even screen printers are telling me my 1,000-piece customer now wants to order 100, but they want to order it 10 times. And so the decorating quantities, while screen printing and direct to garment and all decoration methods are going through the roof in use, the quantities are going down and down and down, which makes DTG even more useful in this arena. So when I say it's an Amazon world, it's I want one, I want it custom, and I want it now. That's the difference, because screen printers used to be able to say it's 24 pieces, I'll have them for you in 2 weeks. And that world has changed dramatically.
And changed again through the last 24 months with the increase in the change in buying behaviors. More and more people, the consumer. In fact, I think a lot of our friends have stepped up their game with e-commerce and realized that they're missing out on, I might sell one shirt, but I'm going to profit $20 on each shirt. That's foreign to a lot of screen printers, wouldn't you say, Terry? Oh,
absolutely. I have a screen printing friend. Speaking of those stores, I was talking to recently. He said he had 500 different stores open at that moment in time. And by stores, what we're talking about is the school archery club or some other club, or maybe it's as small as a bridal group, and everybody come on here on this little store and order the products you're gonna, the shirts and the hats and all those kinds of things. And in that world, it's smaller quantities, always getting smaller and smaller quantities.
Yeah, it's the flexibility. It's giving our audience and our buyer maximum flexibility to buy one in full color and variable data. We didn't really talk about that, but the personalization of having 10 DTG prints that are basically the same, but all 10 have a different name or a different nickname or a different city name, or those are the variables that used to kill us in screen printing. Was it's like, wait, you want 100, but it's really 10 of 10. You have 10 different jobs.
Right.
I have to go in and change the art and have a new set of screens and have, oh boy, those variables were never fun for me. I don't know about
changing colors halfway through. Yeah, exactly. It's any change from the straight printing is a complication for a screen printer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Well, thanks again for bringing that insight to the discussion. I love the fact that there is a difference, but I also love the fact that they're not necessarily competing against each other. I think they serve different purposes. Is that fair to say?
Exactly right. I have. Well, obviously, we at Equipment Zone sell DTG printers to lots of screen printers. They're not giving up on screen printing. They're adding DTG printing. And in my screen printing classes, I always have people who raise their hand who say, well, I'm doing DTG right now, but I need to add screen printing because I'm doing these longer run orders and I want to be more efficient about doing that. So they're complementary to one another.
Okay, so let's transition. We're kind of circling around third. We're going to start chasing for home. What about the startup costs? Maybe you could give some perspective and insights on a typical setup for screen printer, starter setup, I guess I would call it. Compare that to a DTG startup.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are surprised by this, Jay, that initial startup for equipment and get me going supplies is going to be around $20,000 for both technologies. And when I talk to my screen printing classes, I say, to have a professional screen printing business, or when I'm talking to folks in a DTG seminar, I say, if you want a professional DTG business, and what I mean by that is I could potentially quit my job and do this for a living. You can do that for about $20,000. And again, that's with
Wow.
whether you're a screen printer or a DTG printer. So
Okay. I
now,
have to pause you. I have to pause you. You said many are surprised. Which way are they surprised? Did they expect screen printing to be more or DTG printing to be more? Or are they just
I think
surprised that they're the same?
for the most part, I think that people think screen printing will be more because there's a lot more equipment involved
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
process.
Okay.
But not all of that equipment is very expensive. So,
Okay.
but Jay, some people jump right into automatic screen printing presses. I mean, and at the same time, some DTG operators, their very first machine is a high-speed commercial printing package. So those folks are spending $50,000 to $75,000 just to get started. But that's a choice that they've made. But for the most part, most people that I deal with, whether they're in screen printing or DTG, they're in that $20,000 arena to get started. Now, does it change quickly? It does. Look at how many people call us up and say, "Hey, I need another DTG printer." I always tell my screen printers, make sure you buy a dryer that's going to accommodate more than one manual press, because before you know it, you're buying another manual press. Well, if you're spending that money, that means that you're having success. You're not buying another DTG machine or buying another screen printing press because, well, maybe if I have more equipment, I'll get some business. No,
It doesn't work that way. What? That's funny.
Exactly. So
okay, so you're not gonna make that leap, just for giggles to say, I got another 20 grand. Why not?
right.
That is a little surprising. I'm gonna say I was surprised. I thought it would be more for screen printing because I know exposure unit, you gotta have washout area, you gotta have, a batch of screens, you have to have variable screens, I don't know. But it makes sense that they're about the same. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Wow, see, even I learned something today, Terry. So, which isn't that shocking. The
Not
takeaway
true.
as we kind of land here, will of course thank you for those of you that have had some questions in the chat or made some comments. We appreciate that. If you have any more, now's the time. We're going to be wrapping this up. But you alluded to this, Terry. You talked briefly about let's call it the we were talking about the learning curve. Maybe now we can talk about the demand curve. Do
Sure.
people, is screen printing going to go away and DTG printing going to take over, or what do you think? What's your opinion? You've been here the most and seen the most, and you were at the I like how you said it. You learned to screen print in a prior century. Is that how you worded it? The
Exactly
previous
right. It's only
you
2022. So
you crack me up. But DTG printing's been around for 16, 17, maybe 17 and a half, 18 years. I don't know the exact time frame now, but so is one going to take over the other? Are we going to see less screen printers and more DTG, or what do you think?
It's interesting, Jay, when I was doing my screen printing classes at US Screen Printing Institute here in Phoenix, Scott Fresner, who owned the US Screen Printing Institute and wrote the How to Print T-shirts book, he would walk into the screen printing class and say, screen printing will be gone in 2 years. It will all be direct to garment printing. And I would say, and then he would say, here's Terry Combs, he's going to teach the class. And I would say, absolutely incorrect. That is not going to happen. Screen print is not going anywhere. It's DTG is just going to be an additional tool. I did run into him years later, and he goes, you were right about that. But Jay, just a few years ago, the white toner machines were saying, "Oh, well, we're going to replace DTG," and last year it was DTF, direct to film, is going to replace DTG. None of that's true. They're just more tools. All these technologies are just additional tools. And as I said before, screen printers are adding DTG for their short run business because it's business that's going out the door. And DTG operators are adding screen printing, many of them, because they're getting customers who want longer runs and printing Jim's sewing service. Jim's sewing service on one in one color on a shirt. It's kind of a waste of time on a direct to garment printer when you can have a screen and print that exact same thing for pennies. So No, screen printing's not going anywhere. DTG, DTF, all these technologies are just adding to that quiver of arrows that our operators will have. And Jay, there was a time when I was a screen printer and the person over there was an embroiderer, and that person was doing HTV vinyl. And today it's very, very unusual for someone to only be doing one type of decorating. A lot of screen printers have been doing sublimation for a while. Most screen printers, and everybody in the industry says this, if you're not doing DTG now, you will be, because you're going to get left behind if you're just
Right.
have your
Right.
hitched to that one wagon of decoration methods.
Well, a lot of times it's not up to us, Terry. It's the demand that's driven by the consumer. And so if that buyer is expecting product X, and product X is, 12 shirts in 12
Right.
different sizes from a small to a triple X, and they want full color, and they want everyone to have a different name, that can profitably be done with a DTG printer. I mean, literally no big deal, right?
Yeah, Jay, when I first started selling DTG printers, I would say to screen printers, that customer that comes in and says, I have a family reunion, and you cringe. You think, please have 150 people in your family. I need 17 shirts, a little Susie, she's a 2T, and my Uncle Bob, and we all have this guy, right? 4X.
Uncle Bob, 4X
and I
Bob.
don't want to pay for two screens. So, and a screen printer is like, you're going to try to price it so high that you just say, I guess not. DTG, so a screen printer with a DTG printer can say, hey, come back after 2, I'll have those shirts for you. And so it's just opened up so many more opportunities for the screen printer to be able to be a DTG printer as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think they do complement each other really well. And if I were to do it over again, I would love to have both. I would absolutely have both.
Right. Me too.
I think because I'll just admit it, I think because I'm lazier at this point in my life, I would prefer less variables, less mess, less cleanup, less chemicals, less ink, etc. I'm of course biased, but I would be leaning towards DTG. But I still love the craft. I love the artisan feel of making something. There are a few things that can replace that. And I've talked to a lot of screen printers, and they tell me the same thing. Like, there's something kinetic about the touch and the feel of doing it and making it. So
yeah, exactly right.
I love it.
That artist is more over there in the screen printing realm, I believe. So
I think you're right. I think you're right. Okay, so here we are. We're, like I said, we're wrapping up now. We've got about 40 minutes of this. I love the conversation, Terry. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom. Before I let you go, I just want to let others know that we're a click away. You can literally go to our website. If you're a DTG printer and you have an Epson product, Epson F2000, 2100, or 3070, please visit our website, go to our homepage, and click on the technical support. If you get stuck and you're not sure what to do, even if you didn't buy it from us, we can probably bail you out. We'll probably be there for you. So I say probably only because sometimes people do this at the middle of the night on a Saturday, and no, we're not going to be there for you Saturday night at 1 in the morning, which is technically Sunday. But other than that, when Monday rolls around, we'll check our inbox and we'll go give you some love. Also, I'm really excited to talk about this. This is brand new, training the easy way. Terry, you may not be surprised by this, but others will be, is that they do not all get the same high quality training when they invest in a DTG printer. Have you heard this before, Terry? Is that news to you?
Daily, yes.
So we're pretty proud of the investment we've made in both resources and personnel. And we have opened up our training to folks who did not purchase from us, but want to get that next level training. Now, this is true even if you have like maybe a second location, or you've hired a new employee and you want them to go back through the equipment zone training. We're open to everybody at this point. It is additional paid training, and you can get all of the details on our website. You can go up to the homepage and look for training and click on that button, and you'll see a form and you'll see a video. Watch the video, fill out the form, and we're happy to open that up. We've got offices and studios here in Arizona, as well as a really big one and a really nice one in New Jersey. So we're kind of proud of that. So training the easy way is new, Terry. We're excited. And then, of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where this recorded session will live, probably in 48 hours from now. And then that's it. If you need key contact, Terry, what should people do? Where should they go to find more of you or others?
Absolutely. Equipmentzone.com. You can call us at 800-408-0040. And there are 3 of our sales staff that you can talk to that specialize in DTG and sublimation printers. And we would love to hear from you.
Maybe before we totally turn this off, we could have Tim pop back on. Tim, was there anything that we needed to cover that we didn't, or any other insights, last minutes questions from the chat?
No, I think you covered it. I think there's a great need for DTG and screen printing, and I think the combination is just killer. I think you can do great things with both of them.
Love that. I agree 100%. Well, we'll say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Equipment Zone training webinar. And we will see you soon, or see you at an upcoming trade show, because Terry, trade shows are back.
We're back, and
We're
Equipment
back.
Zone will be there.
I hope we'll be at some, not at all. But anyway, thanks again. We'll talk to y'all later. Goodbye.
Bye.